Hello all, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today video we are going to discuss about something called Docker Init. Basically, in for every DevOps engineer, when it comes to writing a Docker file, it become little tricky because they have to depend on developers to understand what's the code and what all the configurations. So to avoid such things, I am not telling we can create complete end-to-end Docker file with the help of Docker Init command, but at least you can get almost 80% the content which is required in your Docker file with the help of Docker Init. Again, you have to do some kind of tailoring adjustment based on your requirement. But if you are new to Docker and you want to write a Docker file, there are multiple ways. For example, if you are using a Visual Studio Code, there you will get an option to create a Docker file directly. So based on your code, it will create a Docker file for you. Similarly, if you are using a Docker desktop, then you get a command line utility called Docker Init. It is basically a command basically. So it will help us to generate a Docker file along with docker compose.yml file. In Visual Studio, you cannot create a docker compose.yml file, but with the help of init, you can create a docker compose file as well. So let's understand basically what is Docker Init. So Docker has introduced the Docker Init command in Docker desktop to streamline the process of containerization application. And it's basically initialize your project wherever you have the application code. So it will basically initialize those files and it will automatically detect in what languages you have written your application, and based on that it will provide you an option. So when you run a Docker init command in your application directory, or I would say wherever your code is there, then what it does basically, it will generate these following four files for you. So the very first file is Docker ignore file. So where basically you can mention what all the things you don't want to push as part of your Docker image. Next is Docker file, and another one is compose.yml file, and the another file is readme.docker.md file. So basically in this file you will get the instructions like what needs to be done as part of these files. So all those details you will get it. You just simply execute a command called docker init in your application code working directory. If you already have these files in your application working directory, then it will prompt you, do you want to overwrite these file or you want to skip? So you have that options as well. If you want, you can, it will overwrite that particular docker file, a compose.yml file for you. But the disadvantage is you should keep a backup of those files if you are using Docker Init, because you cannot take it back. So there are few templates it will provide us. So suppose if you are using ASP.NET Core applications, so you can use Docker init command. If you are using Go, Java, Node.js, PHP with Apache, Python. So if you have your application code in all these languages, basically you can utilize this command line utility called Docker init. Let's quickly move to a demo and it will be then more clear. So I'll go to my demo application. So let me go to my D drive. So here I have a folder called test, and here I have an application called demo app testing 1. So as you can see in this file, I don't have any Docker files or docker compose.yml files. So what I will do here, I will quickly go to this particular location. For that, basically you should install, you already have installed Docker desktop in your machine, otherwise it will not work. And there it comes basically, I think 4 point something version. If you are using previous version about 4.1, I actually don't remember the exact version. You can check out in Docker documentation page. So that if you are using that particular version or later version, then you can get this particular facility or feature basically, I would say. So let me go to my command prompt. So here I will simply go to this particular directory where I have my application code file. Now if I'll run here simple docker init command, you can see, okay, C drive Windows, okay, actually it's not moved. Let me D drive, clear the screen, sorry, and let me run it again, docker init. So now it is going to create these all the directories for you. The utility will walk you through creating the following files with sensible defaults for your project. So if I'll refresh this my directory, okay, it is not created. So actually we need to complete the entire process, then it only create a Docker file. So it is automatically detected. You can see the first line, the application code which I have here, that is on based on ASP.NET Core application. So I'll simply click on enter, yes, because this is correct. Now it is asking what's your solution file name. So it is already detected demo app.sln and it is pointing in blue color. If you have with any other name and it is not detected, then you can specify that name as well. So let me hit enter because it's demo app, and here it is asking for which .NET version you want to use. So I will use default 6.0 only. Now it is asking what port do you want to use to access your application. So let me give something 8082. Okay, so now you can see as soon as you provide all the details, it will create these 4 files in your directory. So the very first file is create docker ignore file. So let me open it. So here you can see these all the things will not checked in as per your docker push, sorry, code push, or I would say image push. And let me open another file which is, let me quickly open Dockerfile first. So here you can see a lot of details and most of the things are commented. So based on the requirement, you can customize this, and this particular Docker file will start from here. If you can see, create a stage for building an application, and in this Docker file it is already created a multi-stage Docker build file. So if you can see from the from instruction, this is our base image file mcr.microsoft.com slash slash .net slash hdk 6.0, and it is using a name for this particular stage which is build, and here it is copying all the source code. It is created a work directory which is slash source, and here it is already created a run command. And if I'll move downwards, so here the next stage which is created as a final stage. So here they are not like, basically it will not build any your code. So here the work directory slash app, and it is basically copying the content from build stage, which is mentioned here, the name, the stage name. So here basically we are copying the code on this particular app directory which is created here, and rest all the commands. And this is the entry point, okay, which DLL should execute. So we have already provided a demo app, our solution name, so that's why it is mentioned the entry point for your application. So you can see it basically created, because this is a simple application, so it is created a complete Docker file for us. If you have a very complex application, then you might need to do some kind of modification in your Docker file. Let me close these files. If I go to compose.yml file, so here also you can see a lot of things are commented, and the service part you can see on this particular port, because we have passed the port 8082 here, and rest all the things you can see, everything is commented. If you have another application, another service called database container, if you have to create, so you can provide the details and it will add in this particular format for you. But we don't have any DB details, so we'll stick in a simple web applications. Let me close this. So you can see in how quickly basically it's created a complete Docker file, compose.yml file for you. So now what we will do next, so I don't have, first we need to create a Docker image with the help of this Docker file. So I'll go to my command prompt. Let me clear the screen. And so here I will use docker build hyphen tag. I will give a name, for example, my app one and dot, because it will already pick up a Docker file. Otherwise you can specify hyphen f file flag and you can provide the Docker file name. So in my case I'll use dot. So now it will, what it will do basically, it will run all the instruction which is written in a Docker file, and it will create a Docker image for you, and the image we will see in our Docker desktop. So if I'll go to image, I don't have any image called my app1. So here we will get an image once this particular execution will be completed. So let's wait till it's processing. Okay, so it's completed now. Let me go to my Docker desktop. So you can see we got an image called my app1. Now what I will do, I don't have any containers now. So from this image, we will create a container here. Okay. So let me go to my command prompt. I'll minimize this. Let me clear this. So now I will run docker run, and I want in detach mode. So -d, and if you want to expose the port, let me do without a port. Let's see if it's work. Otherwise we will do with port as well. And here I will provide my app image name. So let me go back to my Visual Studio Code. So now you can see we got a container which is running. Now you can see there is no port mapping we can see here. So if I'll try to access this application, localhost port 8082 which we have mentioned, let's see if it's working or not. So this sites can't be reached because we need to open a port as well, because we are using a bridge network here by default. So quickly we will confirm it. I'll go to inspect and networking. You can see the bridge network. So let me do one thing. I'll delete this particular container, and let me go back to my command prompt. So here again I will run docker run, and I will use detach mode and -d, and then we will use port mapping here. So host port 8082 and container port, let's give 80, and here my app name. So you can see we got a ports here. Let's quickly browse the application. So here we can see a content of our application. So it means the Docker file which is created with the help of Docker Init command is working fine. So that's all for today. See you in next video. Thank you so much.